Sasini guys, it's your girl Vian and welcome to my space. If you're new here, karibu sana, and if you've been here before, good to see you again. As you can tell, I am so excited. Today I have a very special guest on the show, someone prominent in the society. I'd love to give a small introduction about our guest. Her name is Harriet Nyamu. She is a nutritionist. Yeah,
yes.
She sits in the board of nutritionists according to my research. I'm right. Yeah, she's the director of Komarock Modern Hospital. She's a reverend. She's a mom and a wife.
Yes.
Hey, would you like to add anything? Maybe there's something I left out from our introduction.
Not really. I think you've captured the main areas that you need to get. Yes.
So first and foremost, I'd love to say that I'm so grateful for allowing us the opportunity to come here. I know you're a very, very busy person, but you squeezed us into your calendar, and I do not take that for granted. I am so humbled. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. You can even tell. I'm even stuttering.
Yeah,
how are you?
I'm fine.
Hey, welcome to my space, and thank you for honoring my call to be here.
Welcome. We've come from a long way.
Yeah.
And for me, anything that is gonna encourage the young people, the young girls, I'm in any day.
Thank you. That is so amazing. The other day, I just saw you're very verbal about your age.
Yes.
You said you turned 40. And I look at you and like, oh my goodness, you're a definition of aging with grace. I didn't think you had turned 40. I thought maybe 35. So happy belated birthday. And so many people came to celebrate you. How was that feeling? Like having people to celebrate you, you know?
I think for me, it changed something in me. I really looked forward to turning 40, and I had been warming up like for more than 4 months for my birthday, and so everyone around me knew how important it was. Because 40 is a significant number in the Bible and also in the world. We say that life begins at 40. So I was like hoping for this new thing. And with all the titles that you've mentioned, I'm that kind of a girl that is always strong for everyone. I'm there for people. I'm planning surprises for people. I'm also a firstborn, so I'm used to taking care of everyone. And for once to just see people stop and celebrate me and take care of me. We had celebrations going on for a whole month. I had like 4 or 5 parties.
Oh wow!
Cut 7 cakes. It was really good. Yeah.
Amazing. And you really look nice in short hair.
Thank you.
I low-key feel I had something to do with you cutting your hair, like me, right or wrong. There's that hairstyle I used to do for you, and you looked so nice in it. So when I saw you had cut your hair, I was like, wow.
And you know why I did that hair? I had wanted to cut my hair from the year 2017.
Yeah. And
then one of my friends said, there's a hairstyle that if you try it, you will know whether you look good or bad in short hair. That's how we met, and then we started doing that. So it used to give me the relief of like, oh, at least I have short hair. And it was really looking good.
Yeah.
But then last year, I had COVID. Like, around the time I was the last birthday, and then the hairstyle that I had done had a lot of gel, you know, like those gelling with lines. And then after having, COVID like really puts you in the house, I couldn't make my hair for 3-4 weeks. And then I was like, when I removed the hair, the edges had cut, and I said, God, this is another. My COVID story was slightly different because I was only sick for 5 days, but it took me like about a month to get back to my feet. And the day that I got worse, my bishop prayed over me and I got healed like instantly. So I said to God, you gave me, you still need me alive. Let me do the things I've wanted to do. And one of the things was cutting my hair short. And so on my husband's 44th birthday, I cut my hair.
Wow. And it looks so nice and beautiful.
Thank you.
So I know we've started on a high note.
Yes.
Kindly take us a little back to that young Harriet who was still trying to, because basically the show is about career and purpose, finding your career and find purpose in life. And I have struggled for so long to come to that point where I realize that this is what I really want to do. And I think I feel that I'm still on that journey of trying to, know what my dream, what my purpose in life is. So kindly take us back to when you were trying to make a decision of who you really want to be in life. When did you, how did that go?
My journey is long and interesting. I mean, it's 4 decades already. And growing up, I had different things that I wanted to do at different times. My mom, I was raised up in a Catholic home. And so at some point in primary school, I only wanted to be a nun.
Oh, no, really?
People would be asked, what do you want to grow up to be when you grow up? Guys would be like engineer, doctor, teacher, those nice things. And then I'd be like, a nun.
That is so interesting. I've never had it.
Yes, but now looking back, I feel like it was the call of God that was there in my life since I was young, but I didn't understand. Of course, along the way, then I used to visit the convent a lot. I used to look at many things. And then just getting used to that, I changed my mind. I was like, hey, I don't think this is my life. And then I started wanting to become an accountant. I was a really bright girl. From primary school up to class 8. I was always top 3, top 5. And then our primary school, we were the pioneer class. You have a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure. This school, you have to get good grades at KCPE so that now everyone knows this school exists. And then I had parents that were performance oriented. So it's either you are bringing good grades or bringing good grades. And so I did my best, and I believe I was really sharp. So I used to come top, and finally I got grades that allowed me to go to a good provincial secondary school back then. Now at this point, I really wanted to be an accountant. I thought I wanted to be an accountant because of seeing bankers. So I would see bankers, and I was told they did BCom, they did accounting and finance courses, and so I felt like I really wanted to be an accountant. Then fast forward to Form 1, we go to Form 1, and you're talking to people, you're trying to find out what are the good careers or bad careers. But something happened when I went to high school. The hardworking girl, the focused girl changed. I was no longer the focused girl. I joined the bad girls club. I wasn't really focused on education. I would say I had a really rebellious teenage. That's why when you posted your story and I was watching, I was like, wow, makes 2 of us. Or like, I can resonate to parts of your story. So because growing up in our home, like I said, it was performance oriented. I'm a firstborn, so much is expected of you. And like any other home, we had difficulties growing up. My mom and my dad had domains. They would fight here and there. And we didn't really, because we grew up in an estate, right from class 3, and that had 20 houses. And if you gauge out of the 20 houses, we looked like they were the ones that had the worst kind of a life. It's only our house that didn't have a TV, so like growing up always feeling like there's something that you're missing. And with the home that has a lot of domains and issues going around with your parents, there's an emptiness that you grow up with. There's a place where you feel like, oh, I wish my mom and my dad were not like this, because I'm telling you, we're in 20 houses and you're a firstborn. People would laugh at you if there was an incident at home. And then so I feel like that really affected me. And then growing up, my sister and I are really close, because one is born this year and March, and the next one is born the other year in October. Yeah, so we are barely 2 years old. It's actually like 1 year and like 7 months difference. And that said, we were basically like twins. And I feel like when we were growing up, we were competing for our parents' attention, like that sibling rivalry. And then now me, I was the bad one. My sister has always been the good girl. Yeah, so, and definitely I felt like my parents preferred my sister to me.
Yeah.
Of course, she had, later, I remember talking to my dad, and my dad was like, oh, if this is what you felt, probably it's, I think, no, not just me, we had just us sitting as children. And because she came up with asthma, so she would get these asthmatic attacks. And so definitely now that I am older, I understand, even if I had two children, one is okay and the other one has an issue, I would probably be give more attention to the other one. But then because it didn't come out, I grew up with a lot of issues, just feeling bad, feeling like I'm not good enough, feeling like I wasn't making my parents proud. They were not appreciating me for who I was. And I began to have a bit of self-esteem issues right from the time I was in primary school. So I come to high school, I've performed well, and then boom, there's liberty. For me, it was like I'd gone to a space of freedom.
Yeah.
As much as the teachers were strict, we had prefects, but for once I didn't have my mom and dad around me. I didn't have to worry about the environment in our home. I didn't have to worry about whether my mom, I'll go wrong and my mom will know. And of course, there's always this grouping, and I found myself in the group of the bad girls in quotes. So we were the ones that were always making noise, sick so that we can go to hospital, sneaking out to buy mandazi. I don't think we were really bullying the young ones, but we would make fun of people. So between Form 1 and Form 3, I wasted a lot of time. I wasn't studying as much. I would skive morning prep, and my grades were really bad. I would get mean grades. Imagine having gone to a provincial school. I would get mean grades of C plain, C minus, with a lot of D's in between. I wasn't focused on my education. And the other thing that I think also led to that, I started school quite early. By the time I finished Form 4, I hadn't gotten to 18 years. So I'm turning 13 in Form 1. So it's like teenage got me in high school already. So all these affected me. And so the focus that I had was like, whatever. I really wanted to do BCom, but I wasn't focusing on that. So Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, I wasted a lot of time. And then so basically then I got into more trouble with my parents because in primary I was a performer. In high school I'm not performing. And then, bad girls, the parents will always be told on visiting day. One time I remember sneaking out of school, saying my eyes were sick and I hadn't had permission, so my dad had to take me back. So I was that bad girl that just wasted time in high school. So fast forward to Form 4. And I think in Form 3, my mom began to get sick and she wasn't doing very well. And eventually she passed on when I was in Form 4. And that is when it hit me like, wait a minute. You are left with your dad. And sometimes when your mom is alive and you have all your parents, there's a comfort. And for once in my life, I felt a weight of responsibility as a firstborn for my siblings. I have 4 siblings, so I'm like, everyone is looking at me. What kind of an example have I been setting? And already I feel like I have wasted a lot of time. And it's around the first time I got saved in high school. So I started now making the right decisions, getting into the right company, and reading. I read. After the second term and third term, I really studied. And God is good. I was the one waking up early to do morning prep. I was revising past paper for KCSE. And so when I finished Form 4, I got a C+. It was a strong C+. And because of my love for accounts, I think I had a B+ in mathematics. And unfortunately, I couldn't make it to campus to do my BCom. And I stayed, I remember, but when the results came, for me it was like, wow, at least I could still go to a good college because it could have been worse. Yeah, and now I have matured up. I'm taking care of my children, of my siblings, I'm taking care of my dad. And then so repeating was not an option. My sister, remember, there's no big difference, so she was right behind me. So there was no option. And I remember discussing with my dad and saying, okay, now, because I haven't made it for BCom, can we do CPAs? And I went, enrolled for CPAs and paid. But then when people are applying for KMTC, one of my dad's former high school mate, they were in the same high school, told him that I needed to apply for KMTC. KMTC is good, medical courses are good, and I can always get a job. Back then, you would finish KMTC and you're posted. And it sounded like a very good idea. So that's how I ended up in the medical world. I applied. When I applied, I was like looking for the good courses like pharmacy, you know, the ones where I don't have to touch patients, because surely I didn't think I had the heart of dealing with patients. So I just applied for pharmacy, and that was it. So later, those days they used to put the names of the people that were successful on the newspaper. And so the names are on the newspaper, my name is not there, and I was like, wow, thank God, I'll still end up doing my accounts. We actually now went ahead and paid for CASNEB fee, now waiting to start college. But then like a month after, the same man calls us. He tells my dad, I've been pushing. I know a few people in KMTC. And we have a letter for your daughter. I'm like, okay, a letter for what? They said I needed to go to come the following day to Nairobi to collect my letter. So we came, and then now I remember my dad telling me something. This course, it's God who has chosen it for you. My dad is now, during that time when my mom was sick, my dad got saved and he changed. Like when I look at a saved person, my dad is the best. Like from, you know, he was this and turned to this other person that is relatable, good, loves us, totally dedicated to us. I still don't understand how 24 years down the line he didn't remarry, and he just took care of us. So my dad was like, this course, if you have gotten this one, it's God that has chosen for you. So we came to Nairobi, and they gave me a letter for community nutrition officer. I'm like, what is this? Because I had never heard about nutrition. But I remember the days when my mom was unwell, we would make some adjustments to her food, and then maybe she would retain it better, or it would be more comfortable for her stomach. And so I had started wondering, hey, what is this with toasted bread? What is this like with dry food? What is this with, you know? So when my mom was unwell, I had begun to see food can treat. And so that's how I ended up in college. And the fees was cheap, like 30,000 per year, considering how much I would have paid to do accounts. So you're doing all this mathematics. And my dad told me he's prayed and he believes I should go for the course. So that's how I ended up doing nutrition. It was not like my first course. And why I took the pain to explain this is because there are many people that applied to campus. This is what you wanted to do. They got a different invite. Some decided, no, I will not go. Like my husband, whatever he was called to do in campus was education. He wanted to be in medicine. So he decided, I'm not going to do that. And he followed his passion from another route. There are people that because of, you know, the campus fees, you have help, that's a reasoning. You end up doing a course you never thought about. And so I began to take note and to just research what is this nutrition. And I realized it was an interesting course. That's how I ended up in KMTC for 3.5 years, did nutrition. And my going to KMTC was divine. That's when I noticed it was divine. So remember I told you I had just gotten saved in Form 4, and then we came home. We moved now. When my mom passed on, we went to my dad's village. In my dad's home, everyone was born again apart from him and his brother, out of 11 children. So that's how we met the Pentecostal life. I became somebody that loved God. So in college, I was an official, rising from a secretary to being the chairlady of the Christian Union. I spent time praying. I spent time fasting, reading the word, getting to know God, going on missions. And that's where my other purpose was born. Preaching.
When did you get that shift of, you said you wanted to be a nun initially. But along the way, you said this is not something that you want to do. But later on, you come again and want to enroll in being a reverend. As in, when did you feel like you had that calling?
The reverend issue is just not so far off. So now from BCom, because now the nutrition aspect has come, I go to nutrition. Then in college is where I got to know God, is where I got opportunity to preach. You know, college students, the way they travel around the nation preaching. preaching from one college to another. That's how I got into an evangelism team, and we were preaching. And I believe in prophecy. There was a lot of prophetic words upon my life about me becoming a preacher, about serving God. And for once in my life, I had so much peace. Just waking up to pray at 5 a.m., studying the word, living for God, preaching, I had peace. It was, I feel like besides now, that for once since I was born, the 3 years I was in college were the best. I felt like, I was living what I was called to do. But then, even with that, life still happened. Life still happened because fast forward after college, and I started working. My dad is a civil servant with a certificate and with 5 children to educate. So during college, I was praying and telling God, God, give me a job. I don't want to tarmac. I want to relieve my dad of this burden of taking care of my siblings. And sure, God answered my prayer. We finished college in July, August, and by October, I was working. So I got this job as a sales girl, selling nutrition products. And I was earning good money. Well, the retainer salary was 15,000, but travel allowances and all these other allowances would be like 35,000 per month. So every month I had 50,000 and above. And that is 2004. Yeah, 2004, that was a lot of money. And so one of the things I had promised my dad is that when I get a job, I'll help you educate my siblings. So I lived a very simple life, but most of my money was going to my dad. So that's how we were able to educate my siblings. So now around that time, because I think of the traveling, the inconsistency, in college you have a warmth, you wake up, you have a routine, Christian Union is there. So life happened. I came off and I backslid. I was no longer keen in the things of God. It had part to do with church heart and dating and, just the way somebody messes you up, you believed and trusted in him as a man of God. And then instead of taking the lead towards you guys fulfilling what you're doing, because I wanted to get married to a pastor so that I can preach, I can take the word for God. So then life happened and I ended up getting hurt so badly in the process and in that relationship that I decided, you know what, I don't want church stuff anymore. If this is what men of God do, if this is what happens, I don't want anything to do with God. And so I was doing the first job as a marketer, then it ended. I resigned. It had too much pressure. I couldn't take it anymore. And so I left work. And I remember when I told my dad I was not comfortable, I really needed to leave work and look for another job. And he said, do if you're not comfortable. So I left. My dad supported me. I was out of a job for 9 months. After that, I got another job in an NGO that was dealing with HIV clients. And that job was good. So I relocated from Nairobi and went to Kisumu. When I went to Kisumu, remember this time now, I've stopped going to church. I've stopped even praying. I felt like I couldn't share with people what had happened to me. I have all this guilt. And let me tell the young people, because we are capturing all the audience. We need to know God as a father. Our father is a daddy like your daddy. When you mess up, we need to always learn to run to God, not away from God. Yeah. I ran away from God. And for 5 years, I never went to church. So what happens? I became a party person. When I went to Kisumu, the friends I made were people that were going to a club day in, day out. And we enjoyed, And so I felt like this life was even better than church life. But deep inside me, I was always broken. I was always hurt. I was not happy. I had a lot of issues. Then the relationships I got into were not working, so I was frustrated. And I believe I got worse than when I was in church, or even before. And so fast forward to that, now I am practicing my nutrition in an NGO, taking care of HIV positive patients. It was really nice. So that's my career. And then along the way, I really wanted to upgrade and get a degree. But then being in Kisumu, there was no university that was offering an upgrade of a nutrition degree. Then I say to myself, instead of being idle, why don't I take up back my accounting? You know, that you just feel like, oh, maybe this passion for accounts is still there. So I enrolled at KCA Kisumu and started my CPA 1. CPA 1, out of the 3 papers, I failed 1. And then I was like, let me just enroll for section 2 of CPA 1. And that first paper, law was difficult. So I'll just do it together with the other 3 papers. And we began to study taxation. How I said I was not created for and wired for these things. So I did classwork, and thank God I did, because it helps me as we run our business now. So I have been in class and studied CPA section 1 and 2, but I never sat for exams for section 2. And because I failed 1 paper in section 1, I have no certificate to show that I did that. And then I realized I was never wired to do accounts. Thank God I did it, because I kept feeling like this is what I wanted to do all my high school life. But then going there, comparing to nutrition, I was like, no.
This is very...
Yes. So after that, working with that NGO, I worked there until the post-election violence in the year 2007. And you remember Kisumu was bad. So I came back to Nairobi, running away from the violence. During that phase is when I met my husband. So when I met my husband, now we are talking about starting life together. But then we still had a few issues that were stopping us. So we became good friends. And then I went back after the post-election violence cooled down, relocated from Kisumu to Teso, a place called Amukura, and I was still practicing nutrition, now trying to look for a job in Nairobi. I got a job in Nairobi and moved now to Nairobi. And that's when now my husband and I started dating officially. And then we moved in and started living together. And the job where I was working, there was a lot of pressure. I wasn't really happy with the pressure, and my pregnancy was having issues, like I needed to rest. They were insisting they had a lot of things in terms of me getting rest and out of work. And then when I got married, my husband now has this hospital, had 2 hospitals. So I began to look at helping him to manage the hospitals and just to do administration work, see my nutrition clients, and he went back to school. So I resigned from my nutrition job and came to help him now man the hospitals as I was doing my nutrition consultation. We worked together, he finished school, he came back. Now during this phase, we closed the other hospital and we were left with only 1. And so when he came, this was the first time now after he's finished school, we are spending every day together. Remember, this is a new marriage. You're getting to know someone. Now you're getting to spend the day with them. And then I started feeling, I think I need to go and work. You know, like the space is too small for us. And that's how I looked for a job and got a job with the government. I was employed by the Ministry of Health as a nutritionist. And I worked at speaker level 5. So I'm still now pushing my nutrition. And I remember when I went back, when I got the government job, my husband challenged me and he said, now you need to go back for your degree. I wasn't ready. But many times when he says, he keeps saying and pushing. And then I was like, okay, it's for my own good. Let me go back. I did my degree in nutrition at Kenya Methodist University while still working for the government. And then at this time, I think now I have my firstborn son has grown, and I'm now, by the time I finished my degree, I was expecting my second child. So during my maternity time, because the hospital was not far from where we were staying, when I took the maternity leave from the government, was maternity leave for the 3 months and then plus my leave, my annual leave. And then I began to spend now more time in the hospital. And I realized my husband really needed my help in terms of managing. There are people that were conning him. So I looked at the salary I was making in the government versus what he was losing every other day. He was actually losing more money on a daily basis than I was making in a month. And, you know, I had to drive all the way from Komarock to Thika. So that's how I made a decision that I was going to come back and work for him. But then I tried getting a transfer to Nairobi, and because now health had already been devolved, it became difficult. So finally, we are putting up our second hospital at Utawala. I would go help him supervise on my way to Thika through the bypass and back. And as it kept coming up, I knew there is no way he was going to manage it on his own. And I started thinking about now private practice and helping him manage the hospital. That's how I ended up resigning from the government.
So now you guys have 2 branches?
Now we have 4. Fast forward, we've grown, we have 4. So when this one came now, I was concentrating, I was helping him. I got my second child, and it was amazing.
You guys are doing an amazing job. It's now a household name. Everyone knows Komarock Modern Hospital.
Yes. So this is like now 2016 when we opened the second branch. 2018 I had 2016. 2013 is when I had my second born, and then I decided to get my third born later. But then now in this process now, it's when I came now and left, we restructured the management of the hospital. My husband gave me the managing director position, and he did the CEO, and I was running the day-to-day, and we began to grow. Now you're bringing in administrators, you're bringing in more staff, and so the management became a bit easy. And during this time also, on the day that we launched Komarock, the Utawala branch, the same day in August 2016 when we were launching it, is the same day I rededicated my life to God. After having decided I'm not doing this salvation anymore in the year 2005, 2004, 2005. So it's like 11, 12 years. But then all this time, even when I hadn't rededicated my life to God, there was something about people believing I could pray for them, I could walk with them. When I go to my corner and I want to pray, the presence of God would just overwhelm me most of the time. And so even when I would drink, I would party with my hangover, I would begin to cry, or when I'm too high, I would cry and speak in tongues, And there was just something about God chasing me. I love the song that says the reckless love of God. Even when I had gone far away, the Lord didn't leave me. He still kept chasing after me. So 2016, I rededicated my life to God. After a vision, He showed me, the way my husband and I were kneeling down, and the pastors were praying for us as they dedicated the hospital. And God He showed me a vision about where Komarock Modern was going. And with the vision came an instruction. And very quickly. And one of the things was what you're getting, you're gonna maintain with prayer. He showed me where Komarock Modern was going. It's this is just a bit. This branch is just a bit. And I knew for me to be a prayerful woman, to guard what God was giving us by prayer, I needed to rededicate my life to God. So I rededicated my life to God, and I began now prayer. Prayer is my everything. I love praying at 3 a.m. And so as I prayed, God began to just teach me the word. The thirst for the word came back. And then fast forward to 2019. 2018, after I had my baby, I took a longer maternity leave than usual. And in that time, just being alone, because we had relocated from the estate we had lived for over 10 years to where we are now. I had no friends. But that time, I just kept having an urge and a desire to pray. And God gave me good new friends early 2019 that I would pray with. But every time God would speak to me about my call, He would give me visions about me preaching, visions about me having meetings. And I decided, why not take that way now that I had desired this and I had preached before? So I normally tell people now I am in my second half. I preached first half, took a break, and that way I can relate to everybody. I understand people that have been hurt. I understand people that have run away from God. They relate to my story, and they come and they are blessed. And so now, fast forward, I'm no longer practicing nutrition as such, because now in 2018 we opened the third branch. 2020 we opened our fourth branch. So now I am running between Nairobi, Komarock, Utawala, Chuka, Kathwana, and so there's no time for me to sit and see patients. Our staff numbers have grown from less than 50. Right now we are 410. Wow. So there's a lot for me now to deal with. I used to have one child, I have 3 children. We have other business interests besides the hospital. So I just took that position to just manage all these things. But I still do nutrition. I moved into advocacy. And then I vied for the position of the Secretary General of Nutrition Association of Kenya and got in. So we started just doing a lot of advocacy for nutrition, empowering nutritionists, and that is how I ended up being appointed a council member in the Kenya Nutrition and Dietitian Institute Board. The contract, the Gazette notice expired a few days ago. So I'm now I'm not in that board, but I'm still the Secretary General for Nutrition Association of Kenya until sometime in December. But I love nutrition advocacy. I'm sure you've seen me on TV talking about nutrition. I love it. So I'm still working on how do we take nutrition in this nation to the next level, because nutrition is key. We have very high cases of cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity. All these things require a nutrition angle, kidney failure, liver failure. So I am still looking at how do we as a nation recognize nutrition and come up. But in the meantime now, the call. So people began to invite me and give me platforms to preach, and God would tell me, I'm opening doors for you. Someone would look for me and say, come, I have a women's conference, come speak to our church. And then COVID happened. So towards the end of 2019, God spoke to me so strongly to start just a fellowship. So we met in my house February 2020. Then March 2020, then lockdown happened. We went to Zoom. And 2020, I was locked down in the village with all my children, my workers, and I couldn't come back to Nairobi. I could just sneak in alone. Since I'm a medic, I can come, my husband can come. And it's during this time that I took time to pray and just seek God, because the numbers on Zoom were growing from 12 on the first meeting to 24 to over 100. And I started asking God, because we know churches will be open. Where will I take these people? What do you want? 2020 I also got to spend a lot of time with my spiritual covering, and we were praying together, we were studying together, and what's the direction? So I knew these people would no longer meet in my house anymore, and we began now to meet at physically last year in February at Tufungamano House. God spoke to me about getting ordained. I am a believer that whatever I find to do, I do it with all my might, and I do it well. And because God had spoken about being ordained, there is an authority that you carry, because now you have been given the official mandate by the body of Christ and the church. So my ordination happened last year in March. So then I've been now preaching. We meet every second Saturday of the month at Tufungamano House, but we have a lot of other activities. We have prayers going on every Wednesday, and we've now started a prayer movement every day at 4 a.m. on Zoom. We are meeting to just pray. And so that is my other side as a minister, as a pastor, that I am doing. But still running Komarock Modern Healthcare. And I believe because of that vision that God gave me and the prayers that we've invested in and just trying to do things right, that is why God has continued to multiply and increase us.
So, I'd love to ask, you work together with your husband.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges? Because I can imagine not everyone can work with their partner and have an easy time.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you manage to balance?
It's
also
not
being a mom
easy.
and a wife and all these things. Yeah.
You know, that is one of the reasons. You remember I told you initially I was working with my husband, then I left and went to the government, because I was like, hi, we are getting to know each other in the house. Then we can't fight at home and fight in the office. One has to give way. That's how I went. But then I know that there's something for us to also do in the marketplace. So we had to lay down a few things. Like, we agreed, even though we fought in the office, we weren't going to bring that argument into the house. If we disagree a lot in front of our staff, in front of the board, but it's because we are two individuals that have a different perspective about something. Of course, over time, I've also learned to know that I found him with the hospitals. That's a vision that God gave him. And so I believe in a vision bearer, that he knows and God reveals to him the vision of where Komarock Modern is going. So sometimes, though I don't agree, I've learned to say, God, you entrusted him with the vision and go back. And the same thing with family. Marriages are struggling. I struggle a lot with my husband until I got to a point of realizing he is the head of this home. He is the vision bearer of this home. And so when I don't agree with things, I respectfully put in my point. When he says this is the way, then we go. And along the way, we get barriers and we decide to recheck our way, our approach, we recheck as a team. And so we also agreed if we fight at home, we don't take the fight to the office. And sometimes we are not talking in the house, but in the office we are talking. I'm taking to him papers to sign. He's calling me, giving me instructions. And like he always says, he said once in an interview, the worst part is to remember that when I left home in the morning, my wife and I were not talking. And then in the office we are talking, and then when I come back home, I pick from where we left in the morning. Of course, that happened in our earlier years, like, the first years of marriage. But right now, after 14 years, we are at a place where I normally tell my husband, I cannot afford to be annoyed not to talk to you. I mean, it's me who is suffering. And my husband, he doesn't carry grudges. Even if I disagree with him now, he will be firm with me. He will tell me this, but within an hour, he's forgotten. It's me that used to carry the grudges. He would wake me up at night and say, you mean it's morning, another day will find us when we are still having unresolved issues. So we've learned to resolve our issues better and faster so that we do not prolong something for long. So it's not easy. There are days I worked and I was not getting a pay. So I used to really feel like, why am I working so hard and I'm not getting paid? And when I talked to him, he used to look at me like, why do you want to be paid? And I provide everything, And we had to grow.
That is when you were working under him.
When I always, he's my boss. At Komarock Modern, he's my boss. I was not on a payroll, but I would wake up every morning and go to work and come back. And so now I am paid like any other staff. I'm on a salary. I am paid like any other staff. And he's good because he doesn't ask me, what do you do with your salary? He understands that I am doing contributions there. So that also is what we are doing. But also I tell couples, before you start working together, why are you working together? Give each other a job description. Consider yourself, don't consider yourself as husband and wife in the office. I will rarely hold my husband's hand within our hospitals. When I talk to him, I refer to him as Mr. CEO or Daktari. He refers to me as the MD, So we keep the sweet nothings out of the office because we are there to work. So working with your spouse is as easy as you want it or not easy. But lay the guidelines. Let her know what she needs to do. Let him know what she needs to do. Take her in as an equal, and let her feel possession of what you're doing. It becomes hard when two people are working together, but the man gets everything at the end of the day, or the woman is still treated as a wife in the office. Like in the house, when I want money for shopping, I'll ask money for shopping. But then in there, you need to realize that I am there as an employee and I need to get my salary. That's what made it easy. And most of the time, we agree on things. And if we don't agree, we've learned to allow the other space and just rethink it over and push it.
That's powerful. What are some of the challenges, just to mention a few, that you have encountered on your way to getting to who you are in regards to career, purpose? There
are many, but my major challenge used to be me. I never took myself seriously. And because of the issues I mentioned growing up, I grew up with a very low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself. Even when people would say, oh, you have leadership skills, I'm like, me? So, looking down on me, like, can I do this? Am I up to the task? And sometimes always looking and feeling like there's somebody better than me. I'm doing it, but Vian is better than me. I can't do it as Vian is doing it. Like accepting me for who I am and being me. And I realized that was one of the limitations. And many people face that all the time. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't go all out, knowing that you can do it, no matter what everything, even though everything was working for you, you wouldn't get your... So I had to deal with me. I had to know I am unique. I had to know I am special. My uniqueness is my strength. You get, it's not a disadvantage, and I can't be so and so. So let me be Harriet, do Harriet. In my ministry, I don't want to copy what other people are doing. The Bible is my guide. I will ask, I will see, but then eventually, what is unique about this thing that Harriet is running? Yeah, so not copying others. Of course, there is also the issue of sometimes feeling like you want people to approve you, you know? And I realized you don't have to be approved every time. And from where I come from and where I stand, if you have heard God, you have prayed, and you feel it's time to do what I'm supposed to do, go on. Things will come, resources will come, right partnerships will come. But then sometimes we want to have it all figured before we go on. You know, it's one step at a time. Don't be afraid of failure. If you fail today, learn from your mistakes, pick up and move on tomorrow. Many people that have made it will tell you they failed severally. They didn't believe in themselves. They didn't know how it was going to come out in the end. They are also amazed that it was going to be this big when you talk to them. So believe in you. And if somebody else can do it, you can do it and do it better. Yeah, so those are the things. And then people just not believing in you and feeling like they have a better thing on how you should do. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. I've learned to be respectful and to stand back, because time tells people. Maybe somebody is wondering, what is this thing that Vian is doing? Time will tell them.
Yeah, sure.
Not everyone is tapping your back, but as you keep doing and building your brand, keep going, your consistency is very key. Then eventually be like, oh, so this is what she did. Oh my goodness, I want to go to her show. Because you know this is going to be big, Vian, right?
Thank you.
You're going to have a show. You're going to have something so great. See it like that. See yourself at the next Oprah Winfrey, you know?
Amen.
That is what it means to believe in yourself and to know this is where I am going. It may not look like it today, but that is what I'm going to achieve.
Wow, that is so powerful. Because we were talking about challenge, I'd love us to try something with you. Are you good with tongue twisters?
Oh my goodness. You know, I'm a mix-up of tongues.
But your speech is so, you know, I think you will make it. This is so easy and common. I want to see if you can do it. She sells the seashells on the seashore. You can do it 5 times consistently.
Oh my goodness.
She sells the seashells at the seashore.
She sells the seashells at the seashore.
Do it faster.
She sells seashells at the seashore. She sells seashells at the seashore. She sells seashells at the seashore.
You did that pretty well. Okay, the next one is going to be Peter Pippa picked a peck of pickled peppers.
What?
Peter Pippa picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Peter Pippa picked a peck of pickled peppers.
No, faster.
Okay.
5 times.
Peter Picker picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Okay, there are only 2. There's another one. Oh, you're supposed to do the whole thing. Okay, that's okay. Let me give you another. Did Peter Pippa pick a peck of pickled peppers? Did Peter Pippa pick a peck of pickled peppers?
Did Peter Pippa pick a peck of pickled peppers? Did Peter pick a peck of oh my goodness. I should be allowed to ask you to do it. You have the advantage of having the paper.
I know I'd feel that you've really done a good job.
Yeah.
I'd like to say thank you once again for honoring my call to be on my show. Actually, you're my first guest.
Wow.
Thank you so much. I do not take it for granted again.
Welcome.
And when I look at you, one thing that I think defines you is humility. Despite the many achievements that you've made, you still remain humble, and not many people can, maintain that. So many people, once they are raised, they gain pride, but for you, you've remained humble, and I'm sure God is proud of you for that.
Amen.
Yeah.
You see, what I tell people, you have to realize that if we have to look at our history, we are not worth what we have. It's taken God, it's taken Jesus to just bring us to where we are. And there are principles in the Bible. When the Bible says, humble yourselves before the Lord and he will lift you up, that's a principle, whether you like it or not. Number two, what defines you? If you are defined by material things, then you'll be all ears because you feel like, yes, I've made it. But then for me, I believe my definition is not on what I can see. It is on what God has entrusted in me. And many times, like I said, being a woman of prayer and looking at God just enabling me to see where he's taking me at, I know that we haven't even begun, you know. And so because of where I am going and what God has shown me, I can't afford to be proud. I can't afford to be unapproachable, you know. And one of the things that was hard for me growing up is to find genuine mentors. You know, people that are willing to say, I'll hold your hand until you become. That was really hard for me. And I purposed in my heart, Vian wants me to come to her show and to give her a stepping stone into her next level. I will. You know, those small girls, I mentor a lot of girls. I don't hold many things against them. You know, people are putting them off. Oh, forget about the slave queens. Forget about. For me, when I see them, I see souls. I've messed up in life before. God didn't throw me. I gave you an example of how he would make sure he's still chasing me and bringing me back to him. So that is one of the things, like, and encourage the young girls to find mentors. Find a mentor and be consistent. Because some people come to me, they're like, oh, I want you to mentor me. But then it's like they want it to happen overnight. They don't understand mentors are busy people. And we still create time. I love your patience. It was not easy setting this up, but then I had to just say, now we have to do it because so many things keep coming. So be intentional. Where are you going? Have your roadmap, have your vision, have your how to get to where you're going. What kind of a wife do you want to be? What kind of a mother do you want to be? I also ask myself, what kind of a grandmother do I want to be? What kind of a mother-in-law do I want to be? The problem is that we are living today. You're in your 20s, life is fun. You're not thinking about your 40s. You will not always be in the 20s. I look at batches like, and why I was excited about my 40s is like, I am so expectant of my 40s. I'm so expectant of my 50s that I had to really come out strong and say, look, Harriet has arrived, you know? Yeah, so for me, it's all about where are your priorities and what defines you. When you know what defines you, material things will not define you or give you a high.
That is so nice. So, guys, that has been it for today. We've had the amazing Harriet, and I'm sure you've learned a thing or two like we have. So we'd love to wrap the show, but before that, let's just do something because the tongue twisters were a little hard. I'm sure you can dance. We end the show with a small dance, and then we call it a wrap.
Little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Wake up, wake up, wake up, na 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 na, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, na 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 na, wake up. Nikiwa chini we unaniweka tu, talanta umenipa bure tu, and I love you, I love you. Umenipa kibali, kasema niweka duniani.